Howdy y'all! Today we are in the Gothic West because Darkside Cowboys has just released a new EP. Gunslinger came out on December 11th, and I have to tell y'all, it is a mighty good time. Hello, I'm Miko, and welcome to my channel where I talk about gothy things and just things I like. And while I am not always so yeehaw, I must pick up the mantle whenever one of my favorite goth cowboy bands enters the saloon with some new tunes. And I have to say, I entered this EP expecting a gothic serenade, and instead I was completely blown away by a fast-paced adventure. If you've never listened to the Darkside Cowboys before, they are a goth band from Sweden. Many of their albums are composed like soundtracks to films, with the inclusion of a dark yet melodic theme, sung with a somewhat gruff but very clear voice. When you're listening to their music, it feels like you're lounging in a saloon, playing cards and enjoying the dusky atmosphere. But with their new EP, Gunslinger, the Cowboys took their music to the prairies, narrating the intense journey of a gunslinger, which happens to be the EP's name, Gunslinger. We start the 4-song EP with a song also named Gunslinger. While most Darkside Cowboy albums have a slow intro, in this EP we are thrust into the song with a powerful guitar representing the strength of the gunslinger. Following the intensive intro, we are met with a gruff and poetic voice narrating the gunslinger's story. A story of hardship, confrontation, and retribution. All of the musical elements come together to represent these themes. From the high notes of the lead guitar as it rolls through the prairies, to the low drums, whose hard snaring hits are similar to the sound of spurs. I love the little details like that. In the second verse, where the Cowboys cleverly include a portion of their name, Darkside, we are treated to some low and ominous strumming, which helps create a slow build-up towards the echoing chorus. I think this song is very well put together with the back and forth between the strumming and the powerful chorus and guitar work. I was especially impressed with the backup vocals in this song. Normally the backup vocals in a Darkside Cowboy song are very soft and used to create a mysterious echo, but this time it felt more as though the gunslinger himself was crying out to the listener. I'm a very big fan of Clint Eastwood movies, so this introduction had me hooked. The second song, On the Trail, continues our protagonist's story, picking up even more momentum. The drums in this song are fast-paced with an emphasis on the bright cymbals. I find that cymbals are where you can kind of find a drummer's individual style, and I think that they are a perfect accent to the dark western theme. I could just imagine the gunslinger on his horse traveling down the trail, his story unfolding in the first verse as he tracks down his foes. The chorus features electric guitar work, literally and figuratively, as the striking sound unfolds before us like a storm. The tension builds in the second verse. The trail going cold? What will happen to our protagonist? Well, the guitar is going to tell us. Just like a soundtrack, the instruments of this album are used as accents, but also as a mirror, reflecting the dusty imagery sung by the vocalist. Darkside Cowboys has always put heavy emphasis on their instrumental breakdowns, but I think the fast pace of this EP puts new emphasis on all of the musicians' strengths during these instrumental breakdowns. I have said before that I think Darkside Cowboys are master of their respective instruments, and I stand by that. A landmark is the feature of a landscape or town that is easily seen and recognized from a distance, and also the name of the third song of this EP. I was very curious how this landmark would impact the rootin' tootin' gunslinger's story, as it isn't something normally emphasized in a western. I had to give this one a few listens because the story quickly becomes occult-like. The lyrics, promises of gold, gathering of souls to join your paper army, was an incredibly clever way to illustrate the motivations of the bad guys and the fragility behind them. It gives us a hope that our lone hero, one of grit and steel, can take them on. The vocals in this song are very powerful, almost angry as they are grumbled and yelled into the mic. I say almost because Darkside Cowboys has the crux of being a very soothing vocalist, great for serenading. So once again, we hear the backup vocals adding an emphasis behind him, intensifying the emotions. The pace of the song has yet to let up, and we can feel the confrontation building as the song goes on, keeping up those snaring drums. I think the bass guitar is accented very well in this song, especially during the slower parts. The bass is keeping in line with the other guitars, which I really appreciate. I find that sometimes in songs, when there are two lead guitars, musicians will let the bass fall to the side and mostly be used for rhythm, but in the case of this EP, I think the bass is the bridge that is allowing the guitars to cross paths and keep the flow of the music. Speaking of seamlessly, what a great transition to our last song, Showdown. The bass is once again filling my ears as the drums pick up and introduce our gunslinger to his final act, an act of retribution in his final showdown. The atmosphere is intense and impressive as the song reaches its climax. The fight is on, and the gunslinger's final arc is one of selflessness. filled with action until the very end, the banging drums like a heart beating out of its chest. The guitar never quits, leading to one of the clearest and most beautiful solos I've ever heard the Cowboys play. It's interesting because the vibe of this album is so intense, but my mind always associates the Darkside Cowboys with something soothing to listen to. It's hard to explain unless you've given the EP a listen for yourself. And ironically, the song So Serene by the Darkside Cowboys came on after this album finished. And with this, the EP is sadly concluded, and I say sadly because I could have listened to way more of this. Gunslinger is a short story both in time and in plot progression. The instrumental breakdowns are what is illustrating the story in your mind, while the vocals are providing you with your context. And I think that it requires incredibly skilled musicians to be able to create that scene without the use of visual media like pictures or film. I was blown away by the quality and emotion each instrument provided to this EP. It was definitely a bit of a departure from their usual long serenades, but I fully welcomed it. It can be hard to break habits as an established band, but once again, the Cowboys deliver. I'm definitely giving this EP 5 out of 5 stars. The only complaint I could possibly give was it was too short. I feel like if this EP was a feature-length film, which it totally could be, there would be other parts between the action. Our hero has to rest at some point, right? But I am just super thrilled with this EP. Please go give it a listen. We love Goth Cowboys on this channel. And if you also love Goth Cowboys, hit the like button, maybe subscribe if you're feeling frisky. I don't know. Have a nice day.